Have you ever kind of felt like, as a man, you go through life and, you know, whether it be in the workplace, and no matter what, you go through and you're filled with hope out of high school, like, hey, you know, maybe, maybe I'm gonna make something of myself. And I think that's what we all start out as. We start out as the uh, kids who come out like, yeah, you know, I got this shit. It's gonna be great. But as you go through everything, you realize that maybe this ain't it. You know, you go through the world and consistently you get screwed over, and you look around and it's like, you know, you get called lazy, you get called, a failure, you get called unmotivated, you get told you don't want to work, but when you're in the workplace, you used to go in and give it 100%. You gave it your all. But you realized that, you know, it doesn't work out that way because there's no consistency, there is no. You can get fired, terminated for any fucking reason, and with every failure you have, and every time you get fucked over, you know, it starts from you just getting angry, and then you're angry, and then after a while, you don't feel really anything. You're numb to it, but you can tell that there's a physical reaction, even if there's no outward one that you give, and it's where you feel like you just got, punched in the fucking diaphragm sometimes, like you can't breathe. Because it's like, nobody, even if you tell the people you care about, like, listen, I'm giving it my all, and, it's not working out, no matter what I do, no matter what I try, and, you realize that, hey, maybe, even if it's your own family, maybe these people just don't give a fuck. And maybe they just don't understand exactly what it is that's happening. And, you're anything like me and you don't go to therapy due to a lot of reasons. But, you go through life and you're just like, you're taught to hold it in, you're taught to suppress, and there's sometimes people use it against you. And eventually you just stay quiet about all of your issues. And people ask you, like, well, why don't you seem a bit more concerned about this? Why are you like this? Why are you like that? Because I've told you in the past, or I've told somebody in the past about some of the things that I'm going through, and it was used against me, and it was used as a weapon against me at any point. And, I can never open up to people anymore because I choose not to. And you believe it's the safest option, and you know what? You aren't alone. You aren't fucking lazy. If you're anything like me, you've gone into every single job and every single workplace and every single relationship initially giving it your all, giving it your 100% no matter what it is. But over time, people just tend to disappoint you and just seemingly don't give a fuck that, you're doing everything you can on your end in a game that's rigged. You're not you're not going to win in 2025 by being average Joe. You're not going to win by taking the traditional route. And if you think that, you're not fucking crazy either. You're absolutely correct in the way I've seen it in my own personal experiences in the job markets, and within my relationships with people. It shows me that, you're not meant to win at this game. And I've gone over this a bit in the past, but, you're not fucking crazy, man. You're not lazy, you're not some fucking loser. It's just because you see it for what it is. You're not supposed to fucking win at life. A bit of historical context here as well is that over time, regardless of where at on the globe every single government has taken more and more power and wanted more and more power over people and institutions. Ultimately, every time, it just gets harder and harder for people, and eventually you have a boot on your neck. And you're not fucking crazy for thinking that either. I mean, you can look at history. You can kind of tell that's kind of the path we've been going down for a while now. And it's not your fault that you're feeling defeated either. I mean, you've done everything you possibly could. I mean, you've gone every way to go about doing things through the traditional route, the 9 to 5, work until I'm 40 years old and, hopefully have a house of my own, hopefully be able to start a family of my own. And, you've been at it, if you're anything like me, you've been at it for 3 years straight trying to fucking get there, but you can't seem to get ahead. And people say, well, back in my day, I was able to do this, and like you try and tell these people it's not how it used to be. And you get called lazy, and you get called, this generation's just so selfish and so entitled, they want this, they want that. And, you look at yourself, you might look at yourself like you're the fucking problem. You're not the fucking problem, man. You're not the fucking problem. I've been there. And there are times that I go there. Like, maybe I'm the fucking problem here. And whenever, something goes wrong, everybody that's closest to you, if you're anything like me, everybody's really, hunky-dory, and, after a minute when something goes wrong, it's like you're public enemy number one. It's like everything's your fault. You were the root cause of everyone's, pain and suffering in life because, you're 25 years old and you can't seem to hold a job. It's like, I could hold a job. I mean, I've been at mine for damn near 7 months now. Though admittedly, it'd be like, the job market doesn't offer you anything consistent anymore. And if you feel like, when you're at a job and you get treated like dog shit, you're not alone either. You're not alone in that fact. There are a lot of other people out there just like you, just like us, who feel the same fucking way about everything. And it's like, the only real option I have now, the way I see it, is, I'm gonna have to give up everything just to start my LLC. And on one hand, it terrifies me. On the other hand, it's like, this is my last shot to fucking make it. But you're not fucking crazy, man. You're not fucking the problem. You never have been. And in fact, let me give you a couple examples coming from my own personal experience in the workplace. Because if you feel like, managers and people in positions of authority can get away with whatever the fuck they want and not get in trouble with it, you're not fucking crazy either. I have had several jobs. I've told you this. I already had one try and say that I was committing theft and damaging property. If that were the case, I would have been hauled off the cop car. I had another job. This was another job directly after that tried, spreading the word that I was doing cocaine and doing a lot of other heinous shit that I can't even say on fucking YouTube and I don't even want to fucking mention. And so there was that one. I've had another job where UPS, where I have been, I came in there, I did my job exactly what I was supposed to the letter. I had a family member that got sick, and she's elderly. We went up to visit because I was asked, do you want to come? I was like, okay, yeah. They just said call in every 5 days, and I got called back again where I called in every day. I have the receipts, right? I have them right there that I have for my cell carrier. And then I came back and I'm like, the day of, I called in then, and I came in right after I got into town, and I'm like, listen, whenever you need me back in, give me a call, you know what I mean? I'm back in town. Lo and behold, 24 hours later, they said they didn't need my service my services anymore. That's what I was told verbatim. And I asked why. Well, you didn't call in, even though I had the receipts, which I sent over to HR. And, you know, HR, being useless as normal, did absolutely nothing about it. The next job after that, it wasn't anyone's fault. They just hired too many people. I got let go. Then I went to CDL school, and I got into my accident. Permar security, I did that. I actually missed that job. My issue there was that you had somebody call off due to an injury. No one else would take positions. I already have insomnia. I don't sleep well, so I was doing 12-hour shifts after 12-hour shifts after 12-hour shifts for a couple of weeks straight, and I was exhausted, and I answered a couple of emails wrong, and the company asked me to be terminated. I was. I'm still rehirable, but even then, after that, we finally have, we get down to AutoZone, and this one, I'm going to say this company's name because I'm honestly, truly fucking angry at these people. And not everyone, there are only about 3 people there I actually genuinely care about, and that would be Amy, actually my old boss Amy, and my buddy Joel. My buddy Chris, he left, so, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, so in this instance, I got told that they didn't even want to hire me to begin with. After that, I was getting harassed a lot. Like to the point where it's like they were trying to start altercations with me. I have had, you know, just constant harassment from other bosses and managers there that honestly it was completely unnecessary. I have had people spreading rumors behind my back, talking shit. I had another coworker try and start a physical altercation. On the second month of working there, I had and this is what really kind of woke me up to corporate America. About second month in, we had a commercial client threaten to put a bullet in me. Now, admittedly, I threatened him right back. Naturally, I played roulette there, but it paid off. And that de-escalated the entire situation through me using the threat of violence in return. After that, we had even more harassment, you know, and then the manager, old GM in question, a couple of days later, he calls in and explains that, hey, I'm joking, and he says he's only joking, right? And this is the dude who is, you know, causing me a lot of grief. And I looked him in the eye, I'm like, listen, I'm from Oklahoma. I don't know exactly how you guys do things here, but if you're going to threaten to put a fucking bullet in me, I'm not going to let that slide. Like, back home, especially with the way I'm raised and the people who I was always around, that is always ground is to get yourself shot. And I left it at that because I was like, there's no fucking way you're going to try and tell me that that was a joke. That's not a fucking joke. After that, there was the employee that always like starting shit. Eventually, it led us them trying to have a physical altercation with me. And after that, I mean, within the final couple of weeks, after just constant bullshit, this was the entire 7 months of employment, roughly. I finally had the business end of a knife pointed in my direction, and, you know, lo and behold, a couple weeks after HVAC, I was finally terminated. So, you know, either way, I mean, I've had nothing but bad experiences in corporate America, and I've been let go for bullshit, and I've had to deal with a lot of bullshit. And if you're anything like me, you're not alone. I think a lot of us have been there. You know, you're not fucking crazy. You're not the problem. When your only real goal is going into work and just getting a paycheck and going home, you're not the problem, and you're not fucking crazy. You're not lazy. You're not a poor coworker. You're not a poor employee either. It's just there's no consistency in corporate America. You used to go to a job for that reason, but any time nowadays, it seems to me, in my own personal experience here, they can fire you with impunity. It doesn't really matter. They can fire you for any reason. And you're not crazy for thinking that. And you're not crazy for looking at alternative methods to go about doing things either. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. And that's just something you have to fucking tell yourself. It's not my fucking fault. I have to tell myself that a lot too. It's not your fault. Never has been, it never will be. You know, as long as you're doing what you're fucking supposed to do, it's not your fault. Period. You feel like you've been fucked over, and you have a right to think that. Everything's expensive. You can't afford homes. You can't afford housing. If you doom scroll Zillow, the only thing you're gonna see for like $99,000 is some crusty, dusty ass shack. And, you know, you're expected, yeah, this is a good home. It's worth that. No, it's not. No, it's not. Price of food's absolutely expensive. Car insurance, health insurance. You're lucky to have a job anymore nowadays, because it seems to me if a manager even so much as has a problem with, you know, just the way you look, right, or just how you speak, they can decide they just don't like you because he might look like the guy that fucked his ex, you know. Or find a way to get rid of you. It's not your fault. I think a lot of people are coming to realize that corporate America is not the way to go. And if you've been anything like me and you finally just checked out of it because you would rather risk it all to start your own business, you would rather risk everything to do it than rather having to deal with some of the shit you've had to deal with in corporate America. The inconsistency, not knowing if your manager just is in a piss poor mood for whatever reason, or just, you know, for some reason has beef with you, even when you've done absolutely nothing to deserve it, that you might not have a job for more than 7 months. It's not your fault. And you're not crazy to think that. You're entirely right, and that's a good thing to really have in the back of your mind. Because you can't win in today's society anymore by going the traditional route, and I firmly believe this. I firmly believe it. And if you feel like you're alone in your decision making, because whenever you tell people this, they're like, listen, don't risk it. Don't ruin any future opportunities. Every opportunity that's opened the door to me is actually only proven to me even further that I don't need to put another moment of my time into corporate America. Because corporate America has only shown me firsthand that you're not a person, you're an employee ID number, you're disposable. You don't get paid enough to even, really support yourself anymore. When you factor in the cost of inflation, if you have a car payment, you have student loans, your health insurance, which comes out of your check if you work full time, then you have the cost of rent or a mortgage. You have, if you have kids, you have like the child care, and then, buying food, putting food on the table, gas, and every other expense which you throw into the list, which is utilities. You don't have enough money to set back if there's a health emergency. You don't have, if anything goes wrong, you're fucked. Truly. I mean, there's no helping that. There's no fixing it, in my opinion, unless we have a massive paradigm shift on how things are done. But until that happens, I mean, things are going to be the exact way that they are. The price of rent's insane. You can't win at life. You can't win in 2025. Dare I say, from the day we have been born, we've already been born into a losing game. And the only way you win is you don't do what everybody else is doing. That's kind of what's been just shown to me time and time again. There's no consistency in anything anymore. You live in a time in society where everybody is just, completely in their own fucking worlds. Back in the day, back when we still had a sense of tribe and a community or even brotherhood, inside us there's this void, and within this void there should have been purpose and direction. We don't have that anymore. In the age of social media, when supposedly we are the most connected we have ever been, in fact, everyone else is just in their own little world, completely oblivious to everything that's going on in the world around them. And I think that also attributes to that as well. We have no tribe, we have no brotherhood, we don't have, a community anymore. We're all just completely separate, and there is no sense of togetherness. It takes a village to raise a child, as they say. Anymore nowadays, you look at dating, Jesus Christ, bro. Good luck with that. Back in the day, you used to have your own dating market. You'd be able to date within your community, church, school, within your own neighborhood. You used to have that. Nowadays, with social media adding to the issue and, swiping up, it's purely based off the outside, not what goes on inside. Not to mention the boss babe era. We have that going on, and hookup culture, and a whole bunch of other things that just kind of coalesce into this just, fucked up remedy. And so, if you're average Joe, or you are not 6 foot, don't have a six pack, and you're not 6 figures or 6 inches or whatever the fuck they call it, it's damn near impossible to get you a partner. And even then, there seems to be a complete disconnect with like men and women on both ends. Men have just kind of stopped trying to explain it. That's the reason why you have the MGTOW movement or the passport bros, or just guys, choosing to stay single, because at the end of the day, even now, marriage, all the laws are in favor of women, not men. So in a society where it's damn near impossible to hold a job anyway, you'll never be able to buy a home. You look at the price of new cars, good luck getting a new car, man, you're not going to be able to keep anything. I mean, the only thing you risk at that point is just becoming homeless, provided you get the wrong partner. And anymore nowadays, it's hard to find a partner that you can create a meaningful connection with, because everybody on both ends, we don't know how to communicate with each other. We don't know how to talk shit out. Majority of couples end up in divorce. So already we're in financial straits that we can barely fucking handle. We can barely get our heads above water, and then add the potential of that into the mix, and, well, I guess good luck at that point, right? But your only choice is being 25 years old and living with a roommate just to even get by. But even then, there's no guarantee most of you guys are going to be able to keep a job for more than 7 months to a year, because most companies don't want to hire Gen Z. And they say that we're the problem, but yet, from my experience, from me already being there, dealing with some of your already current employees, you guys are the problem. You guys are the real pieces of shit. That's what I've seen so far. So, either way, I mean, we can go back and forth on the matter, or we could just get down to the straight facts. I think a lot of the older generations, even some of our parents, are guilty of this. They still look at this shit like it's the fucking 60s and 70s. When it's not. It's not the 60s and 70s anymore. The game has changed. Nothing's the same. Everything's different. Even compared to 5, 10, even 15 years ago, everything is different. You add AI into the mix, and then again, your job prospects looking even, you know, 5, 6 years down the line, those are going to be even slimmer as well. So it's not exactly, a wild guess when you actually take a look around you and truly look around you. Like, go out in the fucking street, ask a Gen Zer, why are we always so pissed off? Why are we always so stressed out? Why is it that, like, what's going on? And they'll tell you all of this. They will tell you every last thing. Maybe not to a lot of detail, because I think a lot of us look at it like, hey, if I say this, it means, I'm admitting defeat. For me, no, not necessarily. Because for me, I've come to accept it as just a fact of life at this point. This is the way things are. There's nothing we can do about it. Your vote doesn't matter either. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Honestly, be realistic here. What are you going to do to change it when there's nothing we can do? So, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you other than the fact that you're not fucking crazy for thinking about any of these topics. You're not crazy for thinking about it, man. Or, ladies and gentlemen, you're not crazy. I mean, you are of perfectly sane mind for thinking about things in the manner that you are. Even if it's, you're willing to take extreme risks, or you not having a super positive outlook on the world right now. You're not fucking crazy for thinking it. You're not entitled. You're not lazy. You're not crazy. You're not cuckoo. You haven't lost your mind. None of it. Everything you're thinking right now, at least looking at my own personal experience, is perfectly reasonable. It's perfectly reasonable for me to think in this manner. Because for me, I see it like it is, And for me, I can't look at life through rose-tinted glasses. And admittedly, I wish that I could be like some of these people out here and look at life through rose-tinted glasses, but I can't. It's not something I'm able to do, because I see things as they are. And honestly and truly, ever since this last, whole shit show with my latest employer, and I've worked all the way from office environments to warehouses to fucking retail, and across the board, it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. It's not any different across the board. Everywhere it's the same mentality. They don't give a fuck about you. So, I think it's about time that I just start my own business. Because I can at least put everything on the line and say that, yeah, I still tried. And either way, I mean, I'm in the firm mindset, despite how terrified I am, that I'm prepared to fucking sacrifice everything to do it. Like, all of my comforts and all of my luxuries that I currently have right now. I'm either going to succeed or it's going to fucking kill me, but I'm not giving myself any other choice. But my reason for being in corporate America was that, I was going to give it, one last go. One last good go. And that didn't work. So, yeah. But you're not fucking crazy. You if you're thinking the way that I think, you have a good reason to think that way. It's not your fault. Don't let anyone tell you that it is. You were never meant to win. You know, you were never meant to win taking things the traditional route. You were never going to win. Because, you know, the American dream is dead. The way I see it, the American dream is dead. You're never gonna get that white picket fence with the dog. You're never gonna, you know, be able to make enough money, having even one child of your own. And even then, you risk divorce, you know. I mean, looking at the statistics, that tells me everything I need to know. You're never going to be able to have a stable job and a stable career with the way the corporate setup is now. You are never going to be able to win going the traditional route. So now you're left with two choices, right? I'm either going to do things legally or illegally. And you know what, man? I'm not going to throw shade on you either way. At this point, you're going to just do whatever you need to do to put food on the table, gas in the car, and keep your car insurance going. Who am I to tell you what you do from here? And maybe you're not like me. Maybe you're going to give it another swing, corporate America. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what you should and should not do, but this is just my outlook, you know. But anyway, if you like the video and you kind of just want to have this like real, about as face to face as I can get with you sitting on the other side of the camera, and you like this video, let me know and give me some feedback. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, rate, comment, subscribe, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day wherever you're at. Be good or be good at it, okay? See ya.